Now, as you've heard this morning, the ABC has announced Michelle Guthrie as its new Managing Director. Ms Guthrie joins me now in the studio. Ms Guthrie, congratulations and welcome. This is a notoriously challenging position. Why were you keen to take it on?
Well, for a start, the ABC is an extraordinary platform and an absolutely critical organisation, in terms of Australian culture. And for me, it's coming home. It's a fantastic opportunity to lead this organisation. I'm thrilled to be doing it.
So what's at the essence of what makes the ABC such an important institution?
Having the role as being a true independent public broadcaster and being able to really deliver fantastic content across platforms, across digital, mobile, television, radio, to all Australians is extraordinary. And my hope is that I can really contribute to the organisation.
So what are the key challenges ahead then in terms of maintaining that relevance?
Well, I think the key thing is really sort of, what audiences really desire and how that is really changing so rapidly with digital transformation. So, you really need the organisation to respond to those fast-changing audience needs very quickly. And I hope to be able to bring some of my experience, both from broadcasting and digital, to be able to do that.
A lot of people who work in drama production in Australia would be really keen to hear your views on commitment to Australian-made drama production. Do you believe the existing percentage of Australian-made drama on ABC is appropriate?
No, I think the key thing for the ABC and the sort of unique quality about it is telling those unique Australian stories, and that's what's going to keep it relevant to Australians of all ages. And it's important that we continue to tell those stories on both drama, news and current affairs. It's extremely important.
And so those Australian-made drama productions should be kept at least at existing levels?
Well, I think the key is really, spending, once I get, my feet under the desk in April, spending time with the team and really understanding what the current opportunities are and how can we really expand those, to deliver more to audiences.
On the news front, you've already mentioned the digital transformation, which has been phenomenal over the past decade. You're in a perfect position to look ahead because of your association with Google over the last several years. How do you see that evolving over the next decade?
Well, I guess the key thing for me is making, news is extremely important in terms of really making sure that the population is informed and that they can participate in Australian conversations around important issues. So, my sense is that no matter what age, again, the delivery of news is very important. It just might be different ways of delivering that news or different ways of telling stories.
And online, could that ABC content go behind a paywall eventually?
It's way too early for me to be talking about any of that. I mean, obviously, my sense is that there is incredible content already available online. The current ABC Charter talks about the restrictions in which we operate, or the environment in which we operate, and I'll continue to work within that charter, and also in terms of what the audience really desires. Yeah,
it's still a while till you take on the position, but we're keen on getting a rough indication of your views. I noticed that, like with the BBC websites at the moment, there's a lot of advertising internationally on its website. Do you see, this might be another example of you saying that's a bit down the track, but do you see that as a possibility in future?
Well, I guess, my sense is that it is important on an overall basis to, in budget-constrained times, to really look at all options around monetisation. But, as I said, it is pretty early to be able to make pronouncements, and it is, very much a sense of really understanding, could do, and what that really means for our audiences, both in Australia and internationally.
But on that principle, you see that there needn't be a threat to the ABC's independence by going down that path? Well,
I guess, you know, even internationally, the Australia Plus channel does carry advertising. So internationally, we already have that example. But as I said, it's way too early to be sort of making any definitive pronouncements.
Now, it's been a sometimes fraught relationship between governments and the ABC, and some critics argue for greater control of the editorial approach of the ABC. What do you make of the existing editorial standards, and is there any need for greater oversight of that?
You know, I guess the important thing for me around the ABC is that sense of being an independent public broadcaster rather than a state broadcaster, and I think that's an important distinction. But I also think that you know, I know that there has been discussion around the editor-in-chief responsibilities, and certainly, you know, nothing is changing from Mark to me in terms of that ultimate responsibility for editorial. But I know that there are discussions going on, you know, at the board level, and I'll be working with the board in terms of how we best, you know, support that on an ongoing basis. Particularly, I guess, with digital transformation, that the requirements around editorial are much more sort of immediate and you know.
And so those roles definitely won't be split, the managing director and editor-in-chief? Again,
the current you know, position is that I will have ultimate responsibility, as Mark does, around editorial and as the managing director of the ABC. Yeah. But in terms of how that is supported over time, that's something, you know, ultimately for the board.
And do you see the existing approach to that oversight of editorial control as appropriate, or is there any need for a greater oversight?
You know, again, in my view, based on you know, the reviews that I've read, you know, particularly around you know, individual programs, I think that the structures seem pretty robust to me. But you know, again, it's something that you know, may evolve over time depending on the requirements as we go.
Okay, now just to introduce you to the political nature of the job, Labor Senator Sam Dastyari has linked Google's tax minimisation, which has been a big subject here in Australia over the past couple of months, to the appointment, saying, "I'd hate to think someone who may be responsible for minimising taxes is going to be rewarded with the top job." What do you make of that kind of statement?
Well, you know, for a start, I'm you know, at Google, I'm not responsible for finance or tax, and the Google team, you know, have spokespeople here to respond on those issues. I'm certainly not authorised or qualified to speak on behalf of you know, on that issue. But you know, ultimately, I'm looking forward to coming home and joining the ABC.
Yeah, and so tell us a bit about growing up in Australia and your association with ABC over the years.
Oh, you know, whether it was, you know, Benita on Play School, that dates me, right? You know, or the Inventors. I used to love the Inventors. You know, the programs.
Bit of Harry Butler.
Oh, my husband is Harry Butler. You know, my daughters always sort of, you know, talk about their dad as being Harry Butler. Yeah. You know, it was part of the fabric of my sort of, you know, growing up, and you know, it's incredibly important to me that it's in the fabric of my daughters' lives and my daughters' lives, you know, on a going forward basis. It's an incredible institution, and the key thing for me is being able to have that you know, that enduring sort of legacy, but also, you know, have it sort of change to meet the you know, changing demands of the audience as generations kind of come through.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle Guthrie, thanks so much for having a chat to us, and good luck in the new position.
Thanks so much.